And away we go. Away we go indeed. Happy Monday. Unfortunately, we don't have the two for Monday Night Football games tonight. We got one. We got Jaguars and Kansas City. How about Kansas City? The Chefs are playing on Monday Night Football this week and on Sunday Night Football against my Lions this coming Sunday. But it was a heck of a weekend. There's a lot we're going to get to today. We're going to get to make fun of my great producer, Davonshire, because his Ravens are, for some reason, let me just see if the odds have moved as we start the show, because they hadn't moved today. And I was still shocked. So this doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, listen, I'm very smart. My dad says in my own mind. Sorry, the voice is a little hurt because I called the game. For those who don't know, I'm a very decorated, famous, and very humble play-by-play guy, and I do a high school football game of the week here in Michigan. So I called the game on Friday night, and then Saturday, we're going to show the pictures in a minute. I'll let you see what I did on Saturday. But I was in a lot. It was 87 degrees here. It was warmer on October 4th than it was on July 27th. It was just insane. But I'll explain where I was, but I was in the heat all day. So sorry, the voice is not 100%. But and we're going to bring Davonshire in, my great producer, in a little bit to talk. It'll be good. It'll be like, because I'm like his therapist. It'll be team therapy. He's a huge Ravens fan, and the Ravens suck. And I know they have a lot of injuries, but they still suck. But so here are the odds. I'm not going to put on the screen. I'm just going to read them to you. These are the current odds to win the Super Bowl. To win Super Bowl 60. The favorite is the Bills, who on this show before the season started, I said, take them at 10-1 or 7-1, whatever you can get them at. And I hope you listen and I gave you Super Bowl matchups too. Bills Commanders, Bills Lions. Bills Commanders was 40-1. Now it's like 32-35-1. Bills Lions was 20-1 like 2-3 weeks ago. And now it's like 13-15-1. So you got to listen to the Squatch. And you'll see why you got to listen to the Squatch with two plays that I gave out last week and actually on Saturday morning too. And we'll get to that in a second as well. The Bills are the favorite. They're 5-1. The Eagles are the second favorite. They're 7-1. Lions are the third favorite. Thank you. They're 8-1. Never been to a Super Bowl, by the way, Lions. The only thing on this whole first six teams, as far as the best odds go, every one of them has been to a Super Bowl except for the Lions, so we can't get there yet. Packers are 8.5-1. They're the fourth favorite. The Chefs, Chiefs, I'm kidding. You've seen that on commercial. You know what I'm talking about. Are basically tied for fourth. They're 8.5-1. Then the 15, very curious team, because this Curious George team sucks. Is also 1-4. And I know that I don't know what the status for 1-4. We know the status for 0-2, 0-3. There's only been 4 teams in 30 years that have made the playoffs going 0-4. But they're basically 0-4, if kind of. I mean, they're not technically, but in my opinion, they feel like they're 0-4. I feel really bad. I'm really piling on to Davin right now. Quote the Ravens nevermore. How are they the sixth favorite? Well, the fifth, if you want to look at the Packers and Chiefs as tied. They are 1-4. Half their team is walking wounded, and yet they're 4. Who would bet the Ravens right now at 14-1 when you can take a team like the Rams at 17-1, or the Chargers at 18-1, or the Colts at 19-1? Those teams are going to be in the playoffs. You can't get to the Super Bowl if you're not in the playoffs. The Ravens are 1-4, probably will be 1-5, and they're 14-1. It's the dumbest odds I've ever seen. We'll get to your question in a minute, but a couple things to start off here. I wanted to show everyone the weekend the Squatch had and why my voice is a little hurt. Let's throw them up there. Oh, that's the headline. Oh boy, the Ravens are in trouble. So this was Saturday with me and the world famous Doc, my great father, here on Leach. He's 78 years young and, might not be walking as well as he used to. Look at the Doc. I think that was drink number 2 of 8. That's on our great tailgate with our good friends, the Swinkies, Marcia and Larry, and a bunch of other friends. So that's my car, by the way. You can see it on the top right Well, I think that the tent was hitting my car. I didn't realize that. I don't care. I'm getting a new car soon. So that was, I think, around 9 in the morning. I got out there at like 6 a.m. Ann Arbor. Michigan was playing Wisconsin, smoked them. And then my dad, once a year or twice a year, maybe I don't know if he's done it twice a year, but at least once a year, he'll stay after the game and tailgate after with me, because normally he goes with my brother-in-law and nephew, and they have to drive back. And he decided he wanted to stay even though it was 87 degrees, which, I mean, the weather was great, but it was such a hot day. So I got him out of there at the end of the third quarter. We came back to the car and drinks and watch. It was great. But yeah, that's inside the big house. It was a maze out. It was brilliant. I think we got a couple more, David, don't we? Oh yeah, so this is another cool thing. The doc, he is a doc. He's an OBGYN, best kind of doctor. Delivered over 5,000 babies. That is a long-time labor and delivery nurse from the hospital my dad has practiced at. He has his private practice, but he practices through a hospital called Beaumont. It's all called Corwell. Very, very highly respected hospital. She's known him for like 40 years and never met me, so that was pretty cool. So you got to see, I believe her name is Kathy. And then that's Marsha. Marsha. Her husband, Larry, whom they've been featured on the Food Channel for tailgating. They have the nice tailgate, and we had omelets, and after and obviously a lot of treats beforehand. But after, we had venison and prime rib, like sloppy joes, bratwurst, hot dogs. It's the best. So yeah, great. That was where I was. That's why, like you would say, why is the heat going to hurt you, Squatch? Well, it's not that the heat hurt me, but I called the game Friday night, barely slept. In Ann Arbor, talking all day, 87-degree heat. I did stay hydrated, which is very important, and because I was drinking some energy drinks, I want to stay hydrated. And for those that don't know, I am 14 years sober, so it wasn't like I was hammered or anything. Not that it would be a bad thing if I was. It's a game. I mean, you have drinks, but I don't drink. I just have energy drinks and water. But yeah, so that was the great Saturday yesterday, and obviously a great win for the Tigers on Saturday night. Not so much last night in the Jorge Polanco game, but I got some baseball to give to you in a second here as well. But a couple things off the jump. We do have a couple comments coming in. Sports Figure 5 saying Sunday was wild, bro. One of the crazier weekends in football I've seen in a while. It definitely was. We're going to get to these games in a minute. And Drink Forex, is that like, isn't Forex like an investment thing? It looks like the Dunkin' Donuts label, but it says Drink Forex. So I guess I'll drink some Forex. Do you still believe the Bills are going to the Super Bowl? Yes. I don't think David's got my ticket for the Bills. We've shown that recently. Weird, I'm just showing on my phone. I gave you that play on this show, this very show, the award-winning Monday Night Edge with Dan Leach, powered by Bull Rush, the great Trent Air, the great Neil Kittredge. That's not Neil's last name. Neil, King of England. The great David Shire and the whole cast of thousands. But I gave this play before the season started. Well before the season started. We were still doing the preseason shows. And I'll give you the first one here. So I gave the Bills out. Let's see. Wait, why does my phone look like it's a ghost? Can you not see the phone? I don't know. I guess it's not. Oh, maybe because I don't know. It's maybe the settings. Anyway, Bills, I boosted it to 10.5 to 1. It was 7 to 1 when I gave it out for the season. I love the Bills for the beginning, and I still do. Yes, they lost last night, and we'll get to that game against the Patriots, divisional game. I gave it out as Patriots plus 7.5 as an early line on the show last week. That's why you got to take my picks. They don't always win, but most of the time they do. But then I gave out 2 plays as well. Bills, Commanders, exact match for the Super Bowl. So all you got to do is have both those teams in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter who wins. That's 40 to 1. I love that one right now. I put 50 bones on that to win 2,000. And then I gave Bills Lions out a few weeks ago. It was 20 to 1. Now it's like 15 to 13 to 1. So the favorite, actually, one of the lowest odds I saw when I was looking last night was I got to get back to it. I'm sorry. I couldn't believe how low the odds were on this one. Bills Lions is one of the lowest. Bills Eagles is the lowest of anything, 14 to 1. As far as exact, it's almost like doing a parlay of the AFC winner, NFC winner. but I was very surprised that some of these were going down as much as they were. But if you are with me and you believe in me with the Bills and the Bills getting there no matter what in the AFC, which I do, you want to start betting matchups right now because these odds are going to only go down. Bills Eagles 14-1, Bills Niners 30-1, Bills Seahawks 60-1, Bills Bucks 35-1. These are all teams I believe that could actually go to the Super Bowl, but it's not going to be easy for some of them for the NFC. Bills Rams 30-1, Bills Packers 16-1. I told you about Bills Lions 16-1. You want to start, snagging a couple of these. I'm not every one of them, but to me, the Bills are the best team in football. Yeah, they lost to the Patriots, but they're the best team in football. Yes, you still have good teams in Kansas City and Los Angeles, and you've got great teams in the NFC as well. But the Bills are the most complete team, and this is the year they're going. They're not going to lose to Kansas City this year. They're not going to lose to Baltimore this year. They're going to be the 1 seed. They're going to host the AFC title game. They and Josh Allen and that team with Shakir and so on, coached by McDermott, they are going to the Super Bowl. So yes, I still believe they are going and have not wavered on that during Forex. So I appreciate that. All right, couple things before we get into the games from yesterday. And we're going to, as always, give you a preview of the game tonight. I've got a Squatch same game Monday Night Football parlay. I've got my look ahead picks for the coming week, week 6 in the NFL. But as I say, the Squatch is a genius and very humble. But I give out things not just for my health. I give them out because I want to help people win money. And for those who don't know, I do have an award-winning handicapping site, DTMSquatchPicks.club. Check it out at your leisure if you want. But I gave this play out actually on this show and to my people, my Squatch DTM Squatch Club picks clients, and I gave it on a couple other shows I was on as a guest. So if you can, David, throw up the Super Bowl, the World Series pick. We're going to do a little baseball here. I told you people to take the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, when I gave it out, were 6.5 to 7-1. The Blue Jays now are the second favorite to win the World Series behind the Los Angeles Dodgers, down to, in some places, 3 to 3.5 to 1. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not always right, but I'm right 80% of the time, all the time. Doesn't even make any sense. That's your Anchorman reset. So I'm still on the Blue Jays. I would still take them. There's still value because everyone's betting the Dodgers. They're the big favorite. But I gave that play out, obviously, before the Yankees, before the playoffs started, but definitely before the Yankees series started. After the Blue Jays won game 1, they went from like 8, because the Yankees actually were a smaller favorite. I'm sorry, a bigger favorite, smaller odds than the Blue Jays were before that ALDS started because people thought the Yankees would win. So once the Yankees beat Boston, the Blue Jays went to like 7.5, 8.5. And then after they won game 1, the Blue Jays were down to like 6 to 1. And after they won game 2 last night, they were below 4 to 1. So I gave that out, and I still like it, even at those odds. And obviously, you're not getting the full value, but if you want a World Series bet, go for it. But this, I still absolutely love. And I'm sorry if you were to DTM Squatch Clubs, or I'm sorry, can't even talk today. A DTM Squatch Picks.club client or watching this show, but I gave this out as well. And this is to win the Heisman. And I told you, if you're one of my clients or one of my people on social media, I said, get on Carson Beck to win the Heisman before they play the Florida State Seminoles, because I believe Miami's going to win that game on the road. And boy, did they ever. I know Florida State kind of came back a little bit at the end, but they were never going to win that game. Carson Beck was 12 to 1 on Saturday morning. 12 to 1. This is the power of the Squatch. I mean, I've been looking all weekend, but I want to give you the up to the second odds right now. Sorry, we don't have a picture of this. But I mean, it was 6 to 1, so let's see if it's moved at all. So right now, Carson Beck is still 6 to 1. His odds were cut in half in 3 hours. So what? Yet another reason to trust the Squatch. So I got it 12 to 1. You could have had it 12 to 1. It is down to 6 to 1. And Dante Moore is the slight favorite from Oregon. I said Oregon. He's 5 to 1. Ty Simpson from Bama is 7.5 to 1. Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, who I believe is going to lose a game, so it won't matter before the playoff, is 8.5 to 1. Sayan from Ohio State's 14 to 1. And then Mendoza, who was the favorite 2 weeks ago, which when I gave out the back play, like originally, Then they struggled on the road against Iowa, barely won that game. He's 14-1. He's still alive, dog. But I right now, the only play I would make is Carson Beck. Because if Miami runs the table in the regular season, he is going to win the Heisman. He's that good. And he was a big reason they won that game at Florida State. So there's a couple plays for you. And I want to, before we get into the games for week 5, and you're right, Sports Picker 5, Sports Picker 5. It was a wild, wild day. Not as crazy as a few weeks ago when there was those 3 block kicks, 2 of them costing a team a game, the field goals. That was the craziest, like maybe 10 minutes I've seen in years. But I want to let everyone know once again about the Bull Rush Survivor Contest. It's why I partner with these guys. I love it. I'm enjoying making picks. We got some picks of mine that we'll get to that I made for tonight's game on the Bull Rush site later. Obviously, it's too late to have signed up for the original Survivor Contest as far as when it was open before the season started. But that same Survivor Contest has satellites every single week. All it costs is $20. If you use the code EDGE, you get $5 off. So it's only $15. And if you finish in the top 10, it's like a satellite for a poker tournament or for whatever things you use for satellites in the past. If you're in the top 10, you get inserted into the main draw. And if you get to week 11, that's where you start winning cash prizes every week. If you finish in first, second, or third, and anybody that wins a week gets qualified immediately for week 20. First place, $50,000 cash. So go to bullrush.com, use that promo code EDGE, and get involved, get in that satellite. And all you got to do is be in the top 10. And it's, so if you're joining us for the first time, many of you are obviously veterans of the show. Thank you very much. You should be. And those of you that have not been better before, where have you been? Thank God you're here. And those of you that have friends that have not seen this show, tell them about it, because it really makes you a better sports gambler, or I'm sorry, sports wagerer. I can say that, right? It makes you a smarter football fan, and it makes you a better person. So why would you not want to be involved with this show? But it is not picking a team once a week or one team a week to win a game, which, by the way, if you took, can you imagine if you were in a regular Survivor pool and you took the Arizona Cardinals and you lost to Cam Ward, who said his team was ass last week? And then, to be honest, the Cardinals should have won that game. But their offense was garbanzo sauce in the last 2.5 quarters. And the Titans came all the way back after Cam Ward looked so bad most of that game and most of his career so far. And I've told you I'm big on Cam Ward. I think the Titans will be great. Maybe this sparks them, and they might be involved in one of my look-ahead plays for week 6 coming up later in the show. But that is a terrible way to lose a Survivor Contest. But in Bull Rushes, that's not how you lose. You don't lose by picking a team. You pick whatever you want. You could do 5-leg parlays with all totals. You could do 20-leg parlays with props. You could make 2 bets. You got to make 2 bets a week with $100,000 of virtual cash that you get put into your bank account, on the Bull Rush site. You could bet $2, 1 play for $1, 1 play for $1. All you got to do is make 2 bet slips, and it can be whatever you want it to be. 30-leg parlays, 70-leg parlays, $99,000 bet on a team's point spread, and then a $1 bet on another team's point spread. And if you're in the top 80%, you advance. It's awesome. Go to bullrush.com, sign up, and get involved. Use the promo code EDGE, and you get $5 off that satellite entry fee of $20. It's freaking great. All right, let's get into week number 5, and we're going to bring David in a little later in the show, so I'm not going to rip on him too much here. You know what? Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save that because I got a few things I want to do here first. But needless to say, the Ravens are in a lot of trouble. But I want to know, speaking of that Cardinals game, what the hell happened to the Cardinals? How do you have they were up 21-3? They were cruising. Kyler Murray was playing great. The Titans could do nothing on offense. And then I was actually listening to that game on my way downtown to watch the Tigers in the Sunday night game. Downtown Detroit, that is. And I got a nice, access to a VIP room at the casino there. And I was listening. I'm like, this is just really bad. Like, Kyler Murray went to the locker room for a minute, came back. They couldn't get a first down. Receivers are dropping balls. But to me, it's, whatever the hell happened to the Cardinals, That's an important part of this. But an even more important part of this is this going to turn the Titans around? Titans aren't going anywhere this year. We know that. But when you look at what Cam Ward had 58 yards when they started the second half. I know because I had a prop of him over 200 yards, and I gave out to my DTM SquatchPicks.club clients for plus 168. He ended up, by the way, with 265. He had 58 yards in the first half, and then had over 200 in the second half, and was slicing and dicing and throwing balls to Ridley, to A.O. Manor, to all over the place. He looked great. He was extending plays. I don't know if you guys saw the play where he threw a pick. The Cardinals player dropped it, ended up going into the end zone. Titans got onto it. It was part of the reason they won this game with that walk-off field goal late 22-21. But this could be the start. As I've said, I'm very big on Cam Ward. He doesn't have, the full complement of weapons around him that he needs right now, but he's got some decent ones. And I think this Titans team in a few years is going to be really, really good because of Cam Ward. So that game was nuts. Another game that I think really says a lot about where a team might be headed, even though it's very early in the tenure of this guy. It's Pete Christmas Carroll, obviously, with the Raiders, who are getting embarrassed. And I like the Raiders as far as Ashton Jeanty, even Geno Smith as their quarterback. I like Trey Tucker. I like Myers. I like some of their, obviously Max Crosby went to Eastern Michigan, my alma mater. I think that Dante Thornton, another good wide receiver. I like the Raiders, but they're playing god awful. They have the same record as the Ravens. Sorry, David. They go down 40-6 to the Colts. I mean, you can lose to the Colts who are now 4-1. And I told you from the season the Colts were going to be a surprise team. I guess I was right about it. I feel like I'm bragging today, but I was right about that one. But Pete Carroll said that he is having a big issue processing how bad they are. He expected them to start with wins. A lot of times that's what happens with a guy like Pete Carroll, who's been around forever, has won Super Bowls. But the Raiders are in big trouble. And I hope this doesn't happen. And I don't think it will, because he's not a quitter, but he's in his 70s now. If things go really, really bad this year, they're not going to fire Carroll, because I know that the ownership group there really likes him. I mean, Al Davis' son, Mark. But if let's say they're like 2-15, and Carroll's like, you know what, I'm done, and just resigns and retires, and is well-deserved to retire whenever he wants. I don't think he will. He's not a quitter, but that's where things could be headed, which is very, very sad, because I love Carroll. I have a lot of friends that are Raider fans. I've been to Vegas, in recent years, and they're very behind that team. And, you feel bad for the fact they left Oakland, much like the A's are leaving Oakland. I got another good friend, my friend Goochstadt, Snoots Giving, from my best friend from boarding school. He's losing all his teams to Vegas. But that's a bad situation, and they were embarrassed yesterday. And then on the other side of that, a good situation is the Cowboys. Are they finally maybe in a good place? I mean, it seemed like they were destined for another ridiculously awful season. Listen, the Jets are terrible. Obviously, one of the only winless teams in the NFL. They're 0-5. But the Cowboys looked pretty damn good on the road against a team with a decent defense in New York. I mean, you look at Dak Prescott coming off that tie against the Packers. We talked about that being annoying last week, but that was still a good game for them. And you look at what he's doing. He's not making mistakes. He's throwing a lot of touchdown passes. He threw 2 yesterday to Ferguson, 1 to Pickens, who's doing a great job filling in with CeeDee Lamb being out. Javonte Williams had 135 yards on 16 carries and a touchdown. The defense is playing well. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. It seems like they're responding to to coaching, which in years past they had not been. So to me, it's one of these things where, that team under under McCarthy, not good. Under Schottenheimer, a lot different. And I think that maybe they could get out of the doldrums. And maybe that Cowboys team is back in the sense that they'll have a chance to make a run for the playoffs. I'm not talking about Super Bowl or NFC title games, but they've got a lot of talent on offense. That defense can keep teams at bay, which they obviously have had trouble with this year and in recent years. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys, but they might finally be back to at least a decent place. And then how about the Broncos? And I've talked about this on this show before. One of my best friends, Dave Rieger, his nickname is Baby Dave Rieger. He's in broadcasting like me as well, more on the behind-the-scenes side. He's lived in Michigan his entire life. I've lived in different countries, different states. Went to high school went to boarding school in California when I grew up in Michigan. Never been. I used to watch the Lions game. This nice guy used to have one of those old school, massively huge satellite dishes. This is way before cable. It was still cable, but like there was no like direct TV or Dish Network or streaming or anything like that. So he was a big Dolphins fan, this guy out in California. Erica was his name, Meltzer. He would tape the Lions games for me, and I would get to watch them either like shortly after they were over, or sometimes when we got later on, there was like a way to link it in to the classrooms where there was TVs in them. But he would always tape the games for me, and it was the nicest thing. And I've always been a Lions fan. But my friend Dave, who's never lived out of his state and barely traveled out of it, became a Broncos fan at 10 years old because he went to a Lions preseason game with his dad. And Gary Danielson, the former Lions quarterback, threw a pass to a receiver. This guy named Jeff Chadwick dropped it. He's like, I'm not going to be a Lions fan anymore. 10-year-old stupid baby Dave. But he's a Broncos fan, and I had to give him credit yesterday because I don't think they had any business winning that game. They were getting killed. But the Eagles' offense just came unglued, and Denver comes all the way back and beats the only undefeated team left in football. So you can the Bills, I'm sorry, later in the day, the Bills were obviously the last team. The 72 Dolphins can pop the champagne like they do every year when the last undefeated team loses. But that was a bad loss at home for Philly. A great win on the road for Bo Nix in his second year, and this emerging Denver team, who I still think, and told you to take their under 8.5 wins, I still believe they're overvalued this year because their offense sucks at times. But that was a huge win to move to 3-2 for the Broncos. And I wonder if there is a little cause for concern for the defending champs in Philly with those offensive struggles. It looked like Hurts forgot how to be a quarterback for a minute. He still had a decent day. He was 23 of 38 for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdown passes. But the offense sputtered. Aside from Devonta Smith, with 114 yards and 8 catches, there was some issues there. But we'll see. The Eagles are going to get right back to it. This is still one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They're playing on the road to the Giants this coming week. They're on Thursday Night Football. They're going to probably smash them. Then they play the following week at Minnesota. They'll probably smash the Vikings, no matter who the quarterback is, whether it's Wentz or J.J. McCarthy. Then they have the Giants in Philadelphia, so they'll be fine. But that was kind of a stunning loss because the Eagles lose games here and there, much like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens lose them a lot, or the Lions or the Packers, whoever the good teams are, obviously, in the NFL. But they don't lose games like that a lot, especially at home. That was why it was interesting to see that happen. And then we also had an epic walk-off in Seattle. It cost me a ton of money, by the way. I had it wasn't actually usually 3 legs, but an amazing parlay put together that just needed Seattle to win. I thought with the Bucs injuries, it looked like for a while they were going to. I don't know what to say easily, but the Bucs, you gotta give it to Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers for what they were able to do coming back in that game. There was a crazy stat. Mayfield and Darnold both threw for over 350 yards and completed 80% of their passes. I believe it was the first time in NFL history that it ever happened. Over just over 300. But it was one of the two, and 80% of their passes. Baker was 29 of 33, and Darnold was 28 of 34. And until the interception on the final Seattle drive that lost the game for them, neither of them had thrown a pick. And Darnold had thrown 4 touchdown passes, but that was a rough one with the Bucs. I told you I've been a team that could definitely be an outside contender in a Super Bowl. Mayfield's playing out of his mind. They've had some injuries, obviously, but that's a team that's very balanced on both sides of the ball. And that was, to me, insane. Insane for Seattle to blow that the way they did. But it wasn't like, the Bucs weren't playing well the whole game. Both teams were playing great. So Seattle drops to 3-2, Bucs to 4-1. But as I've said, this is a Bucs team that's going to be very, very, very tough to beat, especially at home. And when they're fully healthy, they will be a threat, to go to the NFC title game. I said it before the season. I'll say it now. It's a very, very good team and a very well-coached team. All right, let's take a quick second here to show you people about the Survivor contest. We'll come right back, and I got a few more games I want to talk to them. We'll bring in the legendary Davonshire to give him some Baltimore Ravens therapy. Before that, though, take a look at this.
You want a shot at $50,000 in cold, hard cash? Well, Bull Rush just dropped a new sports comp, the NFL Survivor. And the total prize pool, a massive $100,000. First place gets 50 grand, straight up. Think you got the picks to survive 20 weeks? Here's how it works. Start each week with a 100K fantasy bankroll. Make picks using real NFL odds. Place in the top 80% and you survive. Below that, you're out. Your bankroll resets each week, so a bad week doesn't kill your season. Make it to week 20, and you and all the other survivors split the entire $100,000. You want the bag? Prove it. Join NFL Survivor only on Bull Rush.
So Donovan might have a really shitty football team, but he's a great on camera because that was Donovan, if you people don't know. So we'll get with him in a second. A couple more games I want to talk to you. First, I want to throw up. So is your name Bro M or Broom? Are we sweeping you? He asked me what my Super Bowl matchup is this year. I think you must have just joined the show because I've given you that, and I will give it to you again. My main Super Bowl matchup is Bills Commanders. I gave that before the season, 40-1. Staying with it for now. Jaden Daniels is back. Commanders look great yesterday. We'll get to that game in a second here. But I also like the Bills and the Lions at 20. Well, it was 20-1. Now it's 15-1 or a little lower. But I believe, if you're asking me this second, I'm not wavering at all. The Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. I've said that for months now. But I do believe you're going to see a matchup with either the Commanders, if they stay healthy. Jaden Daniels obviously has to stay healthy, knock on wood, or the Lions. And I know my Lions have never been to a Super Bowl, so it's like asking a lot. But I think that not only have they recovered, losing both their coordinators, recovered from the season opening loss against Green Bay. Hutch looks better than ever. The offense is ridiculous. John Morton's doing a great job, taking over for Ben Johnson. And I think the Lions they were talking about it on NFL Network and ESPN the last couple of days. Are they the most complete team in the NFL? I think they probably are. I mean, the Bills are too, but maybe the most complete team in the NFC right now, as long as they stay healthy. That's a very tough Lions team, and you don't have much of a chance to beat them at Ford Field. By the way, Dan Campbell, in his last 49 games, remember he took over a team that was one of the worst in the NFL because of the great Matt Patricia. In the last 49 games, the Lions are 39-10. Are there any teams in the NFL that have a better record than that in the last 49 games? No, there are not. The Lions have the best record over the last 49 games in the entire National Football League at 39-10, including 15-2 last year, which was sick. Speaking of the Commanders, I think they're back on track. Massive win in Los Angeles over one of my teams that I think is an outside Super Bowl contender in the Jim Harbaugh coach Los Angeles Chargers. That was a huge win on the road. A lot of my friends that I respect that are big handicappers like myself and hosts of shows were big on the Chargers yesterday. I said, no, sir, give me the Commanders plus that 2.5, bump it up to 3.5 through the key number. They win going away 27-10. Daniels, little rust coming back for the injury, but 15-26 for 231. Touchdown pass, good QB rating. How about Krosky Merritt? 14 carries, two touchdowns, 111 yards. He's a great young player. The Commanders went to 3-2, same record as the Chargers. That was impressive. And I will tell you this. Sunday Night Football was a shock to some. Not to you that watched the show, because I told you that the Patriots were a live dog. Even though I love Buffalo, Buffalo's not going to go undefeated. They were getting 7 and a hook. I gave that as a play last week as my look aheads, plays for week 5. Not only was the hook already built in, you have to buy it. It was a divisional game. The Patriots know that team very well. They were so well coached by Vrabel. Drake May is slinging the ball. The defense is playing great. The Bills played solid for much of that game until their offensive struggles in the second half. But that was a great game, and the Patriots were better last night. The Bills were the better team, but the Patriots were better last night. So kind of saw that one coming. That was, incredible. And the question is, how serious should we take New England? Well, this is a team that I think is good enough to be a playoff team. That's about it. But after what they've been the last couple of years post-Belichick, nothing wrong with being a playoff team and building from there and figuring out if Drake May's your guy going forward, what this team needs to continue to build back to a crescendo, which obviously they won the 7 Super Bowls with Tom Brady. So to me, they are for real. They are a playoff team. It won't be easy to get in a very tough AFC. But if you're looking at it right now, I mean, this is a Patriots team at 3-2 that would be on they'd be the last team in the playoffs, and guess who they'd make it instead of? Kansas City. So right now they're the 7th seed. Kansas City obviously, was on it's played tonight. If they win and go to 3-2, I'm not sure who has the tie break, but basically they'd be tied for that 7th spot. But the way that the Patriots are looking, that to me is a playoff team. So we'll see what happens. Let's look at their schedule. The Patriots, I know they got some tough ones coming up. Then a stretch where it's not too bad. They got at Saints this coming week, at Titans, home Browns, home Falcons, at Bucks, home Jets. So that's 3. It could be 3-4 wins there. If they at some point before, when there's 10 games played, are 7-3, 6-4, you're going to feel pretty good about the playoffs. That should be with their head above water, those top 7 spots in the AFC. All right, well, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, the producer extraordinaire, the biggest Ravens fan this side of Ozzie Newsome and anybody that likes crab cakes, the legendary Corey Burkholz saying, what's up? What's up, Corey? The legendary Davin Shire. Davin, come join the fray, if you will. Hopefully you're back in are you back in the dark? Are you still in mourning?
You don't see it's all black?
Yeah, you see me. No, I see you, but where's like the parade behind you and the light fixtures like I got? Like, look, my football background is popping right now because I'm surrounded by lights.
Well, I can switch it to the football background. I just don't have so my house was built bad.
You just look like you're in grandma's basement. That's all I'm saying.
My office doesn't have any here goes. Is that better?
Yes, that's way better.
My office doesn't have any lights, so the only light I have is this studio kind of light right above my desk, which it's good, but it's all right here.
Cool bull rusher, by the way. All right, so yeah. I'm a very kind guy, as you know. I like helping my friends. I'm the kind of guy that most of my friends, like when they were having issues, guys and girls, they'll call me. They can talk through with me. I'm almost like a mini therapist because I've been in so much therapy my entire life. So I'm going to be your therapist today because you and I have been texting the last couple of weeks over the weekend during Ravens games. Obviously, you got blasted by my lines. You're embarrassed about that. I won some free sushi from you, so that was great. But by the way, I don't know why on my TV remote here, there's no TV in this room. So I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I can just
they always end up in weird places.
I've got like 7 TVs in my place, but there's not one in my studio. I actually am going to mount one here. I need to have one in here, but when I do work in here, I try to focus and not have the TV on. So I'm going to act as your therapist. And we've been texting, and you've been very upset. And one time you said you were going to move and leave the country. I'm like, just stop that nonsense.
I was about to start watching soccer.
Let me start with the question I led the show off with when we got into the football stuff. Do you think there is anyone on God's green earth that would bet the Ravens to win the Super Bowl right now as the 6th favorite at 14-1, or is there any reason that should even be close to what their odds are? Like, I understand they're still, when they're healthy, one of the best teams in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, a great defense, John Harbaugh, all that stuff. I get it. But is there any planet that the Ravens should be the 6th favorite to win the Super Bowl ahead of teams like the Rams, Chargers, Colts, Niners, Broncos, Commanders, and Bucks? When they're 1-4, Davin.
No shot. Honestly, I think they should be like plus 1,500, plus 2,000, if anything, because that line is crazy. I actually
not 1,500. That's one more. Davin, I've got to teach you math again. Right now they're 14-1. That is plus. That's 1,400. So
are they? I looked early because we have Hard Rock. The odds are.
Yeah, they suck.
That's why.
My point is that you're saying they should be what, like 50-1?
I definitely don't think they should be number 7, like you said on the list.
6.
First off, 6. Yeah, they definitely shouldn't be 6. They should be like 15.
All right, so let's do it like this. And it's gonna be tough because you're a big Homer fan. I mean, we're all fans of our teams. I'm gonna name a team, and you tell me if this team should have better odds than the Ravens or worse odds than the Ravens. So, like, if I say the first team will be the Rams, the Ravens are ahead of the Rams in the odds right now. Should they be ahead of the Rams or behind them?
Rams ahead. No, the Rams should be ahead.
I agree. Chargers, should they? I know they just lost. Should they be ahead of the Ravens or behind the Ravens?
Yeah, ahead.
I agree. They're 18-1. They're behind the Ravens.
Yeah.
Colts look great. They're 4-1, beating people like a drum. They're behind the Ravens of the odds.
That one doesn't make sense to me. No, yeah, that one doesn't make sense.
They're 19-1, and I think they should.
Anybody with just looking pure record with a 4-1 record should be ahead of the Ravens.
Yeah, I think the Niners should, the Broncos should, the Commanders should, the Bucs should. But
exactly.
I will. Part of this, by the way, and I'll explain this. We'll kind of do a little inside baseball here. A lot of this has to do with liability. So the sports books are always going to make money because they try to get action on both sides. And there's also a lot of really terrible bettors, which is why we do the show, why I have my DTM SquatchMix.club website, why I like to give free plays out on Twitter at Dan Leach DTM, because most gamblers suck and they're stupid. So they need to make sure that they have stuff on. I mean, there's always going to be games they lose big on, or props they lose big on, or futures they lose big on. But there's so many bets that they're going to win that it always offsets and gives them a profit because of the juice. Laying the 110, the 115, whatever. And also taking all the money for the people to do 17-leg parlays because they're morons. Yeah. So, no offense to anybody out there. To stop. I have a friend that's like, so Dan, let me send this to you. I got 30 legs. What do you think if I should take out 2? I'm like, just don't talk to me anymore.
I've definitely done my fair share of 10-leg parlays.
Yeah. Oh, God. If you're doing like props in a same-game parlay, you're taking like some minus 800s or something because you just want to juice it up a little bit, whatever. If you're doing like 15 to 20 leg, like Florida State minus 16, the Rams plus 3, if you're just, no offense, you're an idiot. Just stop. Because your odds of winning that are probably less than 2%. And yes, I'll have a friend that will, look what I hit. I had a 35 legger for $5. I won $6,000 or whatever, 500, whatever it is. You'll win one of those and then lose 700 in a row. Just stop. So anyway,
I'd like to just say I do it on UFC player prop bets.
All right, don't do 15 legs. Do like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
More legs. It's like, the more legs you do, the more better chance you have of losing. So anyway, I lost my point. What was my point?
Your point was talking about the Ravens and why anybody would.
So liability. So, and I actually, I mean, not to like, sound like I'm a genius or anything. I actually used to work for a guy that owned a sports book, and I lived in Costa Rica. So I've always been connected to people that run sports books in Vegas. So I know my stuff, and this is about liability. So, Donovan, the Ravens were the favorites to win the Super Bowl before the season started all summer long, going back to basically last offseason. That means there's a ton of money on the Baltimore Ravens for both the publics, the sharps, random Ravens fans, and people that are like, oh, the Ravens are probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. So their odds are still lower than they should have, or lower than they should be, because let's say they get hot and they're back on track to make the playoffs. There's going to be so much liability for the sports book. If you make the Ravens 100-1 right now, it's not 100-1. If you make them like 30-1, which they probably should be, or 25-1, you're going to get people that are going to jump on that. And it's almost like a bet on, can the Ravens get back in shape and get back in playoff position? Because if they get in, as long as they're not like the 7th seed, and even 7 seeds have a chance these days with the parity of the NFL. It's just tough to win in the row in the playoffs. If they get back in, then there's tons of liability. So that's why they're still 14-1. But Donovan, they're really like 30-1. Because right now, the way it's looking in the AFC and the way the Ravens schedule is looking, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Now, that's my next question to you, because even though you're a super homer, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, I think you can be objective. Right now, by the way, the Ravens are the 12 seed. They win the tiebreak against Miami, or else they'd be the 13, and the Browns, or they'd be the 14, or the Titans, or they'd be the 15, and they're only basically ahead of the Jets. This is ridiculous. So let's talk about this really quick, and then I got to get to the rest of the games. And I always appreciate you coming on. You're playing the Rams at home. You're 7.5-point underdogs, which is just ridiculous. So what do you think about that game?
Listen,
because that's like almost a must win.
Pick wise, I'm not touching the Ravens for the next 3 weeks. I would say
game at home. I mean, they lost the Texans game at home 40-10.
Well, I thought the Texas game was at least going to be close. It was at least going to be a
So did
close game.
I gave out
And
7.5.
after that shootout, I don't really have much faith with the Rams. I'm not going to talk about Lamar Jackson for 20 minutes like I did last week, but all I will say
please
is
don't be boring this week, please.
I sent him a DM about a really great stem cell clinic in Mexico because I'm hoping he goes there. I hope he gets fixed up. I hope he can. My dream is that he runs out in halftime for the Rams, and then somehow the other 25% of our starting team gets uninjured and gets themselves fixed. Like I hope the stem cell therapy or some kind of clinic sponsors us.
I'm sure that he immediately read that DM and then immediately burned his phone.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
so before I let you start, talking endlessly at all hours of the night, are they going to beat the Rams?
No.
Are they going to beat the Bears? By the way, 3 straight home games with all these injuries. You might lose them all. Are they going to beat the Bears in Baltimore next Sunday? No,
I
2
think
Sundays.
if we have Lamar Jackson and a few other key players back that are injured, yes. But pending that, honestly.
Right. And then at the Dolphins.
No more faith in Cooper.
Yeah, there was never any faith in Cooper. You said it last
I was just trying to be positive, but
I
I've
told
lost
you
all faith.
last week for saying, Cooper Rush should be great.
I was trying to speak it into existence.
A journeyman. And then they're playing the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football on October 30th, day before Halloween. Spooky. Okay, if they win one of those games, they'll have an outside shot, maybe to go to the playoffs. If they win 2 of those games, they'll be in a decent spot because they've got some games they can win late in the season. If you go 0-3 against the Rams, the Bears, and the Finns, and go to 1-8, or I'm sorry, 1-7, it's over. It's 100% over. If you are 1-7 after 8 games, you're not making the playoffs. Agree or disagree?
I would have to agree. When are we playing the Bears? Sorry, I'm looking at the schedule.
Bears are in 2 weeks, friend.
Week 8 is a bye week for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It's 2 games from now, but you're right. It's October 26th. But it's 2 games. So
Gotcha.
like this week you have the Rams, bye, Bears at Dolphins.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying if you lose all 3 of those games, it's done.
I'm hoping by the time that bye week comes, we have most of our players back that are injured, and that's when I really hope we do some sort of miracle comeback. And there's Rocky music playing and everything, but other than that, if we're not good by that bye week, I think we're done. And I'm gonna be I might be like a Vikings fan for the rest of the year.
Just stop it. All right, Sonny's View. Throw Sonny's View up here. He's asking, do you think there's any chance the Ravens see the playoffs? Answer: no. But Davin's not giving up. He's not giving.
Look,
if I had to give, how about this, Davin? 2 things that I got to get to the rest of the games.
Yeah.
All right. If I had to get, I want to see what yours is. If I don't know, because I know they have like analytics websites. I'm not going to look one up right now. I'm just going to ballpark it in my head because I'm pretty good with odds. If I had to put a percentage on the Ravens making the playoffs as of right now at 1-4, the 12th seed of the AFC, if I had to put odds on it, I would put 20%. So a 1-in-5 chance, which is not good, but it's not terrible. Like the odds for the Jets are 0. The odds. Who were the other teams I was talking about?
Which that's pretty good. Mine was less than that. So
you were gonna go less than 20%.
I was gonna go 15%. In my head, though, I was thinking like 15% because I have a feeling that these injuries are going to go. I'll just say one quick thing. I was talking to my dad, and he was like, why are all these players getting injured? Like, why do we not have like an athletic trainer in the back that's stretching these guys out? Like, we're getting all these stupid little pulls and tears, and like, what's up with these injuries? It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, stretch. Like my dad went off and was telling people to stretch.
Yeah, sounds like a real great guy.
Yeah,
I'm really happy.
He's good, but I was like, yeah,
really happy you brought that story up. No, I'm kidding. Your dad's awesome. What's your dad's name?
Jim.
Shout out Jim Shire. Jim Shire. All right. So last question for you, and thank you as always for joining me. This has been your therapy because I don't want you to no going off cliffs. It's not over yet. Last week we're gonna do this every week. The Davin Ravens panic meter. Last week, I think you said, I said 1 through 10. Obviously, 10, you're jumping off the Eiffel Tower onto like an inflatable thing. You're not killing yourself.
I think I said 7.
1, you have 0. I thought last week was 6.5.
Or 6.5. It was 6.5. Yeah, I
Right.
did a
So
point.
1
Yeah.
through 10 this week after getting embarrassed at home by the Texans, who could score for the first 4 weeks of the season. Where are you at now? Same or more?
No, definitely. I'm like a 7.8. I'm almost at an
Okay.
8. I'm
Now,
almost at an 8.
if you lose this week at home to the Rams, who are a really good team and outside Super Bowl contender, will it be past 8?
It depends on what the news is on Lamar Jackson and some of our injured guys. But it won't be at a 9, but it might be between the 8 and 9 level. If everybody's still injured and they're like, look, Lamar is, I don't know, he fell off of a curb or something like that. It might be higher, but it all depends on the injuries. But yeah, 7.8, I would say right now.
If they lose this week, my 20% will go down to 12%. And they'll be 1-5, and I'll basically start shoveling the dirt on top of the Ravens season. But we'll see. Things can happen. It's the NFL. David, thanks as always for joining me. Thanks for being the best producer. Show the people a little more on the Survivor contest if you will, and then we'll get to the picks for tonight and my Squatch same game parlay.
Welcome to Bull Rush, the ultimate arena where competition meets strategy. Challenge your friends in fantasy sports picking competitions where every decision counts. Prove you really know the game by climbing the leaderboard, outsmarting your rivals, and locking in bragging rights. It's a battle of instincts, strategy, and sports knowledge. Ready to make your picks? Get ready for Bull Rush. Visit bullrush.com today. Are you in?
Love it. All right, we got a Monday night game to get to tonight. Jaguars and Chiefs. And let me tell you, we'll get to my Squatch same game parlay in a second and my week 5 early leans, but I got to tell you, tonight's all about the Benjamins, which means it's all about the Jaguars. I love the Jaguars plus the 3.5. I love the Jaguars on the money line plus 158. I'll get to the props and you'll see where I'm going and why I like the Jaguars so much, because I think they're going to have some big games for guys like Strange and ETN and some others, and Trevor Lawrence. T-Law, as they call him in the business. This is not your sisters or brothers or former college roommates, Kansas City Chiefs. They're still really good. They're still Patrick Mahomes led and Andy told you a little out of it today. Andy Reid coached. But this is in Jacksonville against a Jaguars team that is really playing some solid football, coming in at 3-1. Trevor Lawrence is slinging the ball. ETN is running the ball. Brenton Strange is catching the ball. You've got a solid defense. They're going to be fired up for one of the biggest home games in Jacksonville in the last decade. I'm all about the Jags tonight, but let's throw it up if we can, King Davin. We've got a bunch of plays. We got my plays from Bull Rush. So the first one is, as I mentioned, the Jaguars plus the 3.5. I laid $5K on that. That's easy. And then I did the money line too, right? We got money line for $1,000. And then I also did some players action as well. So make that big, if you will, for the people, Davin, just so they can see it. Not me, them. We're queuing out. There we go. Yeah. So I like Pacheco over 7.5 receiving yards. I believe he's going to get 2 receptions at least. Should get over about 10 yards. Strange, the great tight end, he's emerging over 3.5 receptions. And Trevor Lawrence, rushing yards over 11.5. I think he might have 25 tonight when all is said and done. He will be scrambling at times. That pays, it's 4.6 or 4.8 to 1, excuse me. So I think I laid 1,000 to win $5,860. Then I also have another play that I made on a shall not be named sports book. I believe it rhymes with Snansnool. We have that one too, David, I believe. If not, I can get it up on my phone. If you know, I know we had to change pictures and stuff and talk to clowns. And there we go. All right. So Pacheco, 1 reception. Brenton Strange, 3 or more receptions. Brian Thomas Jr. should have a big night tonight. He's been great for them out of the slot and as a wide receiver this year. 40 yards or more receiving. Hollywood Brown's been great for the Chiefs. Obviously, they've been down at Xavier Worthy to last week. Out for a little bit with some injury issues. Obviously, Rashee Rice suspended till week 7. So I think he's going to have 25 yards or more. Kelsey, 25 yards or more. He started the season awful, but he's starting to really become more of a part of the offense, which he obviously always has been, but wasn't for the first few weeks of the season. And then I think Trevor Lawrence has a big game passing tonight, 200 yards or more. Those 6 legs, 4-1. I boosted it because I had a boost, but don't worry if you don't have a boost. I love it at 4-1. Should be I don't want to say an easy cash. Nothing's an easy cash per se. But when you're wagering with the Squatch, it can be easy cashes. So that's what I have for tonight's Squatch same game parlay. Now, once again, please head to bullrush.com. Use the promo code EDGE. Get $5 off. It's that $20 entry fee for the satellite contest to try to get into the main draw for the Survivor contest. It's not just picking one team to win every week like a traditional Survivor. It's whatever wagers you want to make. All you got to do is have 2 bet slips per week. You can wager 2 of them. You can wager 600 slips, whatever you want to do. There's obviously Bull Rush has all the same things that all the traditional sports books have: player props, totals, touchdowns, everything. So, receiving yards, receptions, first half lines, everything you can find in a traditional sports book, you can do that as part of your pick slips. You get $100,000 of virtual cash each week on Bull Rush for the Survivor contest. And all you got to do is finish in the top 80%, or if you're doing the satellite, in the top 10. NB asking me, miss the playoffs parlay. Lions, Pats, yes, and KC, Baltimore, no, 11-1. So you're saying Lions, okay, Lions and Pats both yeses, KC, Baltimore no's. I would not do that, NB, and I appreciate you putting that up there because I think Kansas City makes the playoffs. Lions and Pats, Lions are definitely making the playoffs. Patriots have a great chance. Baltimore should miss. I would find another team. I don't know what the odds will be, but I'll give you another team to swap out with Baltimore because I'm not feeling it with KC. I think KC's making the playoffs. That's pretty good odds, though. Let me try to find a team that would be comparable. I would say Denver. I'm still down on Denver, man. I know they just beat the Eagles, but I'm still down on Denver, so that would be a possibility. Otherwise, you're not going to get great odds on Houston, or obviously, we're not going to Vegas. That's easy. They're not making the playoffs. I would in the AFC, I would look at Denver, and in the NFC, if you wanted to swap out Kansas City for a no, I would probably look at Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, there's not that many great options that are give you the kind of odds that Kansas City's no would give you. I just don't think it's. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to tell you to cash in your bet slip right now, but I just Kansas City is still too good of a team, man. They're 2-2. I'm with you. I think they lose tonight, and they could lose to the Lions, but I think they're in much better shape than the Ravens, in my opinion. And you look at their schedule. After the Lions, they have the Raiders. Commanders, that could be a loss, but that's in Kansas City. At the Bills, at the Broncos, home Colts, at Cowboys, home Texans, home Chargers, at Titans, I think they're a 9-win team, man. I think they're getting in. But listen, not I would tell you if I thought it was super crazy. It's not. The one that I gave out on this show and did before the season was, I think I have it memorized, but I just want to double check. It was Lions. It was all to make the playoffs parlay. It was Lions, Bucks, Packers, Commanders, and I got 10.5-1, and I boosted it to 15-1. But that one's already paying me double my bet. It's almost triple my bet. That should happen. But I like your idea of a yes, some side yes, some side no. That's where you can get some good value when it comes to some of those teams. By the way, update if you're wondering. My bet not looking too good right now with the Phillies and Dodgers because I like the over 7.5. It's 0-0 right now. But I do like the Phillies to win that game. So we'll see if they can score some runs and get things going. All right, here are my week 5 early leans when it comes to either betting in the Survivor contest on Bull Rush or just in general. I do like the Lions money line Sunday night in Kansas City. It's basically minus 104 right now. I think the Lions are going to go in there. The Lions are playing way better right now than Kansas City. They already beat them on Thursday night or the opening game a couple years ago. I like the Lions money line on Sunday Night Football. Giants getting 7.5 at home against Philly on Thursday night. The Jackson Dart experience. Do I think the Giants are for sure going to win? No. But Philly, they had some offensive issues, obviously, in that loss against Denver. Like I said about the Pats Bills when I gave my early look last week and said take the Pats plus 7.5. Same thing. Division game. They know them well. Yeah, it's Jackson Dart's first start against Philly, and Philly might come after him defensively. I think the Giants can hang in that game. So I like that. The 7 and the hook already built in. Donovan might like this. The Ravens at home getting 7.5. 7.5 against the Rams. The Rams could come in there and do what Houston did. But I think the Ravens can muster up a performance to at least lose by a touchdown or less. I think the Rams are going to win that game. I think the Ravens will play better. Now, in the third week of Cooper Rush, Henry should get involved, obviously, which he wasn't a couple weeks ago on the goal line or on 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s. I think the Ravens can cover the 7.5. It's a very small lean. I wouldn't lay the 7.5 with Los Angeles, as well as Stafford and the Rams and McVay as that team playing. But I like, whenever you get through a key number, as we talked about on this show, 3, 7, 10, 14, when you're already getting it built in, sometimes the odds makers are trying to get, or the sports books are trying to get you sucked in, like that Bucks 3.5, begging you to take that when the Seattle was the right side, I thought. But obviously, Tampa Bay played great yesterday. In these two cases, I don't believe it is. Much less about the Giants, and possibly it could be a little bit of a trap for the Ravens, because the Ravens look so bad and lifeless against Houston. But when you've got that hook built in, you don't have to buy it. A lot of times I look for value in that. So I like both those, plus the touchdown at home. And then how about those Bucks off that big win in Seattle? I know that they're out in the West Coast and going back home all the way across the country from, all the way west to all the way down like southeast. They're -3 right now at home against San Fran. Remember, still Brock Purdy injured. Obviously you look at the way that Mac Jones has played. He's played well, but you buy it down to 2.5. Baker Mayfield has been amazing. I like that through the key number. I think the Bucks can beat San Fran, who has to now travel from the West Coast to the East Coast. So, yeah, the Bucks will have a chance to reacclimate. They're at home, though. It's not like a team traveling from west to east. And I believe I just wanted to double check. I'm pretty sure that was a 1 o'clock game. And if it is, that's 10 a.m. San Francisco time. I just want to double check that because it has been a crazy week. So I've had a lot of things to look at, if you know what I mean. Can you believe we're already in October, by the way? Shocktober. It is a 4:25 game, so the early start doesn't matter. But to me, as well as the Bucks have played, and the Niners are doing their best with their quarterback injured, McCaffrey's looked good off the injury. I still like Tampa Bay to win that game at home. The Bucks have been so good at the new sombrero. So those are my 4 leans coming up for week number 6. Giants plus 7.5 at home versus Philly. Ravens plus 7.5 at home versus the Rams. Bucks -3 at home against San Fran, buy it down to 2.5. And Lions money line Sunday night in Kansas City. All right, that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much to all of you for joining the show. We love reading your comments. We love getting you involved. Please go to bullrush.com. Get into that satellite contest for the Survivor contest. Remember, you get to week 20. First place, $50,000, $100,000 prize pool. All it costs is $20 to get in. If you use the promo code EDGE, you save $5, and it's only $15. And then if you're in the top 10 this week, you get into the main Survivor contest, which no one can get in unless they win the satellite. So get involved with that. And we're here each and every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and 1 p.m. Hawaiian time. Also 11 p.m. in jolly old England. Thanks again to my amazing producer. He's the best, even though the Ravens suck. Davin Shire, to the great Trent Air and Neil and all the great people for Bull Rush. But most importantly, to each and every one of you. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Daily Squatch saying so long. Believe in the dream. We'll see you next time on the Monday Night Edge, powered by Bull Rush, right here. Believe it all. Believe in the dream. I'm out of here.